Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six is a game that took me a long time to appreciate. Unlike many of the games I've covered from 1998, I don't have fond childhood memories of this game, on account of its dauntingly steep learning curve, totally unforgiving difficulty, and, frankly, graphics that were fugly even in 1998. This was not a game meant for children, but rather for their Republican dad. Really, there isn't a video game brand more recognizably Republican dad than the Tom Clancy umbrella, which began with Rainbow Six as a game for Republican dads based on a book by a Republican dad for the enjoyment of Republican dads. As you might expect, this game is obsessed with realism, at least in its encounters. The motivation of the game's main antagonists is a totally batshit riff on environmentalism, and comes across as precisely the kind of thing a climate change denier would write if they were feeling particularly defensive. Oh, what's that? You say I'm destroying life on Earth? Well, I'm gonna write a book where you're destroying life on Earth!
Now you have to understand, Horizon doesn't exist to make money. Horizon exists to make a better future. If people think we're crazy, well, that's their problem.
Yeah, that part of the whole thing is pretty stupid. But you know what isn't stupid? Firing in short, controlled bursts. Planning how your teams will sweep through a building. Executing your plans quickly before your enemies have time to react. And checking your fucking corners. Every step you take is a gamble, and the stakes include your life and the lives of your squad mates. This is a game where, like in real life, you can be felled by a single bullet. You may have better equipment most of the time, but in the ways that matter, you and your enemies are evenly matched for firepower, and they tend to have the upper hand when it comes to numbers and placement. Your people are the intruders, and their people are already waiting. If all of this sounds familiar, that's probably because every tactical shooter since Rainbow Six has built on this foundation. Rainbow Six itself has seen numerous expansions and sequels, and the series enjoys success to this day with Rainbow Six Siege. But if you rewind the clock backwards from where the series is now, past all the console-friendly controls, the perks, and the mainstream success of the series overall, what you'll find is an original game that is nearly as inaccessible as it is deep. Every game in the series has been hard, except Lockdown, which was boring as shit. But this first game is also just plain difficult to learn. I honestly haven't even figured out every single button or command in this game, and if I weren't playing with a list of key commands in front of me, I'd be hopelessly lost. And yet, despite the dauntingly complicated controls, it's hard to not love how it all comes together. These controls are only complicated because of how many different options you have in a given situation. At a time when most shooter games offer little more than the abilities to run, walk, switch weapons, open doors, aim, and shoot, Rainbow Six adds a lot more to that, making it possible to, say, instruct a separate team to secure a hostage and stealthily escape along a path you defined before the mission even began, or let you draw an enemy's attention in one direction so one of your guys can safely wipe him out from where he couldn't see. Subsequent games in this series simplified things and made complex strategies easier to pull off, but the original game was the template. It had all the big, important features and ideas, and if it didn't pull it off smoothly, it at least had them all in one place, making extremely high-level tactical play possible for those with a lot of time and patience. Indeed, some of the features in this game, like the planning screen and commanding multiple teams, stopped being included in later Rainbow Six games. This series is one of nail-biting tension, patience, and delayed gratification. And this game, more than the rest in the series, stretched that tension out the farthest, tests your patience the hardest, and delays that gratification the longest. And as a result, it's the most satisfying Rainbow Six game of them all. Now, for better and worse, this game kicked off the military shooter genre as we know it today, which, for the most part, consists of games that I have strong political objections to, this game included. Although, to its credit, and to Tom Clancy's as well, they don't really make warfare attractive and glamorous the way that most military shooters do. Rather, it's messy, brutal, tense, and unpleasant, a fair portrait of the real thing. Like a lot of works associated with Tom Clancy, this game has quite a few things to say that I really disagree with. But damn if it isn't an intense ride.
fire. Tango down! Threat neutralized. Threat neutralized. Get down! Get down! Tango down!